Change is happening faster than ever before. We're dealing with economic shift, technology disruptions like AI transforming entire industries, evolving health information that seems to contradict what we learned last year, and social change that can feel disorienting. Add in our all personal life transitions like career shifts, family changes, moving, health challenges. It's no wonder we feel overwhelmed by the constant need to adapt. If you're feeling this way, you're definitely not alone. Recent data shows that 43% of adults say they feel more anxious than they did the previous year. And that's up 37% from 2023 and 32% in 2022. We're literally getting more overwhelmed each year. But here's what we learned in our work at Stamina Lab, helping thousands of people change their behavior to improve their health and well-being. Overwhelm isn't actually about the speed of change. It's about feeling powerless in the face of it. When we can clearly separate the changes that we can't control from the ones we can influence, we stop wasting energy resisting the inevitable and start channeling it towards the changes that will actually improve our health and well-being. So, Dr. Teplow, when have you felt most overwhelmed by change in your own life?
Oh my goodness. When have I not? No, I'm teasing. But, one thing that comes to mind and that will relate to what we talk about a little later is in graduate school when I had qualifying exams and it was very overwhelming and I had very little time to prepare. And I was basically flipping out. I could barely remember my name, so I thought, okay, well, I'll just focus on this topic, out of 10 topics. But that was again overwhelming. And then I'll just focus on this part of a topic. And that also was like, oh my God. And so a friend came over while I was hysterical the night before the qualifying exams and said, no, take this famous person in your field. What date was, when was he born? What date? I knew that, of course. And, it was the tiny specific detail. When did he die? Oh, I knew that. And then we just went from there. So that helped a lot. But it was also
You were spinning for a while. It sounds like that was part of it, right?
totally,
Because we
totally.
can all relate to that, where you're just like, I don't even know what to do, and it's how long you like stay in that mode.
It is. Yeah. And I think one thing that would have helped was something we'll talk about a little bit later in this podcast.
Yeah, for me is overwhelm happens when I usually have too many commitments that are on my plate. That's the biggest one where I overcommit, and I wasn't even expecting to overcommit. Then all of a sudden, or a day happens where something happens out of the blue that you weren't expecting, and now you can't do the things that you want to do. And it reminds me of when I was teaching a program called Building a Second Brain. One of my colleagues that was helping me teach it, she had a great rule of thumb to do this, and which was really okay. I have a list. I make a list. I think that's one of my favorites, is just to make a list. It's like an action that I can do is make a list. But what she did was really to put it into value, her values, what she wanted to have. And the key number one thing was just, are my kids going to die? Or do I need to keep them healthy? And it was kind of a laugh, but that kind of set up the hierarchy. I'm like, okay, let me look at this thing. What do I have to do? What do I have to do? Is this going to help keep my kids alive? Then okay, I need to do that. Then everything else I can start to prioritize based on what's important to me.
Yeah, that's a great example because as one of our students said, he said the mind just makes up stuff
Yeah.
and it makes up stuff and it absorbs stuff from what people tell us. And they may have just, a parent, a teacher, somebody that we care about. They may have just made an off the cuff comment about us, but somehow with our brain and all the different cognitive biases we have, it really sticks. And then we take that as a principle or a rule or whatever. And I think that, will my kids still be alive or something like that really brings it down to what matters.
Because also like I said, there's in the intro, there's stuff I can control and things I can't control, and I think that's what the overwhelm a lot of people are experiencing, especially with I hear a lot about with this AI pace of AI changing so fast, and what's going to happen to my job, my career, then obviously that affects my family, and I'm getting overwhelmed even just explaining it all, and we almost feel like we were excuse me powerless over it.
Yeah. Yeah, and that reminds me that when we think of not only what our values are, but who is the person that, who we are and the kind of person we are and the values that we want to represent or stand for in the world, those are constants. And I think this idea of the sky and weather is similar to your feelings. The sky's always there, your feelings come and go, but also that sky is who you are at your core. So, who do you want to be in the world for yourself? In the world, who do you want to be for yourself, your family? And regardless of what happens with the job, with anything, how will you show up and be true to those values that are at the core of what you really care about?
And the values is part of the sky in that
Yeah, yeah,
metaphor.
yeah. Sorry. Yeah, the sky, right. And what happens, what you don't have control over, that's just the weather. The clouds show up. Maybe it's, a tornado or it's just a little cloudy. It doesn't matter because who you are is always present. The sky is always there. Yeah, I'm sorry I didn't make that clear. And then, even if, God forbid, the whole, you lose your job or whatever, how are you going to show up in a way that it tells you and tells everybody else you're the same. You're caring or you're generous. And as one of our students said in our smart management, our mastery quest just last week, money isn't the only thing that is of value. He said, time is money too. And so, if you're a generous person, but you don't have as much money, your job got wiped out, you can still be generous. It's generosity of spirit or generosity of time.
Yeah, generosity of spirit, even just like saying thank you or please or to the person that you're interacting with. That's being generous, and
Yeah.
acknowledging that that's still generosity, and that's still that's still your sky showing up in that moment.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and don't discount those tiny things that have such a big impact. I mean, I remember different interactions where people said just those tiny things and they really stuck with me.
All right, so I'm overwhelmed. I have too much on my plate. I got too many things happening this week, and or like I said, there's a big life changer happening. So something. So let's just go like with this week. Okay, so I have so much on my plate to deal with, and so little time to do it. I'm feeling overwhelmed. Um, this is starting to give me anxiety. I need to go for a walk. I guess that's even an action right there to help.
Yeah,
That
there you
I'm
go.
just brainstorming here, but this is a situation that you're in. I'm just trying to come up with a common scenario where you're feeling it all happening to you. Where do we start? Where do we start?
Yeah, I think to calm down first of all, so you could even begin to think is do that. What did your friend say about the kids?
Oh yeah, she made the list, and then she said, "Okay, well, are my kids going to die? What do I need to do to keep my kids alive? Okay, I definitely need to make sure they have food and they are safe and home from school or got their transportation or whatever. That's the main thing I have to get done
Yeah,
today."
so instead of I just go with the take a breath, take a walk. You can't think until you kind of get grounded a little bit and do whatever you can to get grounded. Even if, you can bounce a ball on the floor a couple of times. That rhythmic activity, that'll help. And recognize no one's going to die. We hope not, right? So that's make it black and white. Okay, even if I don't get this done, no one's going to die.
All
That's
right,
really important, and I think
that's
that does.
basic.
Yeah, and it sounds so ridiculous, but it makes a difference. And then ask yourself, "What ultimately do I want?" And not only what I want, but what difference will it make to me? And so start there. What do I
And I think what inherent and when you say ground yourself, go for a walk, take a breath, you feel your feet on the ground. That's one of my favorites, just literally grounding yourself. I'm saying, we're not going to die. But it's also then noticing, hey, I am feeling, or I am noticing that I have these feelings of overwhelm. That's part of that first step is noticing that I'm feeling this overwhelm.
Yeah, and then don't fight it. It's don't fight it because you can't. You can't, it's like, I shouldn't feel that. And we do all of that. We hear that all the time with people who work with us. I shouldn't feel that. I know it's not good. It's just, it's part of the
uh,
weather. It just happens, right? It's not who you are. So So then say, what do I want? If I'm feeling overwhelmed, and here's another tip is we exist, in kind of three ways. We have the feeling way. Feeling is overwhelm is different feeling, but there's also thinking and there's also doing. And so sometimes I think, Glenn, it's your mom when she gets feeling overwhelmed and she starts to clean and that somehow
Clean, yes.
grounds her. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a really great example
of the
because
doing.
of the doing.
Yeah.
Yes, of the doing. And then also don't cheerlead or think, I have to have, my day's so sucky or I'm so overwhelmed. How do I get to be happy? Don't pursue the happy. Think about, okay, well, what will I be doing when I'm just a little less overwhelmed? Don't try and take it away, but let's reduce it. So let me imagine myself even in an hour. Bring the check. So overwhelm, I'm sorry, I'm kind of interjecting here on myself that often overwhelm it's like my graduate exam. It's way big. So bring it down to the present. So what would I be doing even the next hour that would tell me I'm getting more in control? If one I was like, that's just 1 hour, that's just too much. Then bring it down farther in the time trajectory. Bring it down to the immediate. Okay, what can I do right now that will be a sign that I can still either do, feel, or act in a way that moves me forward?
You said something right there at the beginning of that which is so important because we say, I shouldn't be feeling this way. It's not helping me. I shouldn't be, why am I feeling this way? I shouldn't be doing that. Oh, I'm so stupid. And this is not even helping. That is that guilt and shame that you have from just feeling a feeling, which is just the clouds moving
Yeah.
by. And what you're saying is, don't even fight that. It's okay. That's feeling like that way. It's just a feeling coming by. It's neither good nor bad, and you're not stupid for feeling it. You're not. It's not anything that you shouldn't be feeling. You're feeling it, and so I just want to re-emphasize that because I think it's so important to take away that should statement that we have at the beginning. Um, and because
Yeah,
that's just slowing down the process of actually being able to manage your overwhelm because you're in that loop
right.
as part
Absolutely.
of that tornado of overwhelm that you're exasperating.
Absolutely. Yeah. That should is, yeah, it's overwhelming. Yeah. And, and we can't do anything about it
So you say, okay, we're just it's there. So how do what would I be noticed I'd be doing right now that would show in the
right
next hour?
now.
Yeah,
Yeah. And I would
right
really,
now.
yeah. And your thoughts are hard. You don't control your mind. Your mind has a mind of its own. Your feelings come and go just like the clouds in the sky. What you can control is what you do about it.
And it's not
So,
right now. It's not right now that I'm. What can I do right now to eliminate it?
no,
That's too overwhelming. This overwhelming. I got to do something right
impossible.
now to eliminate this overwhelm. No, that's too overwhelming.
It's too heroic and it's just not possible. So, yeah, give it up. And that also you can't, that's also kind of like an avoidance goal. Give it up. So, what can you do um, in the present? And so that's take action. And
Take action.
and when we take action, we see that we are capable of doing something that makes a difference.
So, what would I tell I'd be doing that would say that I'm feeling just even a little bit less overwhelmed?
So I could say, suppose in 5 minutes from now, I look back and said and saw myself having done something that told me I am capable of doing something. What would I have done? What would I have done in the previous the 5 minutes before? I would have said, yeah, I can do something. I can take some action.
And
Well,
that could
maybe
be
I'd sweep the floor.
that could be like I said, noticing your feet on the floor, the grounding piece. For me, a lot of the time is okay. I just need to make a list. I need to make a
Yeah,
list. Just start getting it out of my head. Make a list.
and like your mom, that cleaning thing, making a list also, that's a thinking thing
Yeah.
that also might get you tripped up. How can I make a list? What's first? What's the
Right.
priority? And, do I do it with my bullet journal or on a digital whatever? Right? We can get ourselves tied up in so many ways. So that's why I think take some kind of meaningful action, and it doesn't have to be related to the problem that's associated with the overwhelm. And that's another thing.
Because
Don't try and
it's just evidence that we are getting control.
yes, it is evidence of your capacity to do something that is of value that makes a difference. So sweep your floor, fold 2 t-shirts that just came out of the dryer. It doesn't matter. It's whatever tells you that you are capable of effective action.
So that's so interesting. So we're not even dealing with the problem. You're not even dealing with your grad school work, that we could be working on something completely different, but it's just showing, oh wait, I have the capacity to be in control. I'm breathing here. I'm doing something. And I'm like, okay, now that I know I can do something, it allows your mind to give the evidence that it can start working on this bigger, grander problem.
Absolutely. I mean, there's so many things you could do to kind of
And that's
get
not
ground.
procrastination. And that's not procrastination, which is, oh, I'm procrastinating because I'm cleaning something in the closet. No, you're you're
No,
trying to
you're
get yourself.
preparing.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're preparing. I mean, and also and as you engage your body in things that are, very common routines, your mind, it can be released. So you may come up with some very creative ideas that you hadn't thought of before. So when we get overwhelmed, we also get very narrow in terms of our perspective. There's only one way to do it. And
So yeah. What's any other final master things that we want to leave people with about how to manage overwhelm?
well, for one thing, I think it's to recognize that you aren't alone, that everybody has this, it's
Yeah.
normal, and also to ask yourself to recognize that you're like, when in the past have you felt even a little bit overwhelmed, and how did you get out of it? Because I don't think people, just wake up in the morning and for the very first time in their whole lives, they're overwhelmed. It's remember the past successes, the ways that you have coped in the past or managed with overwhelm, because those also reinforce the idea that you are capable of effective change, effective action. It doesn't mean if you look back, well, how did I get overwhelmed before? How did I manage or cope? That you necessarily will use those same tools. You may or may not, but then you ask yourself, expose those tools, discover those, reveal them, and then say, okay, well, does this work this time or does it not? If it does, how would I use it? Now we're starting to engage more thinking. So we're expanding from just do or feel to do, and then incorporating some more constructive thinking.
Well, that sounds like a fantastic place for us to wrap up. If today's episode resonated with you, and if you're ready to move beyond willpower to deal with this overwhelm and align your behavior change with your identity and the values of who you are, we invite you to join us inside Stamina Lab, whether it's through our core health group coaching program, that membership, or one of our 14-day health quests. We're here to help you become the person you are already on the path to becoming and being. And we also like you to hit the like and subscribe on this video because it helps with the algorithm and allows us to get this word out about our solution focused strategies every week to help more people. We also have a great assessment on how flexible your mindset is. This is a science backed assessment that gives you a snapshot of how well you adapt, stay grounded, and move forward when things are getting challenging and overwhelming. So we'll have a link for that in the show notes, as well as a perceived stress assessment score that it's one of the most widely used scientifically validated tools for measuring how you feel about stress and overwhelm in your life, and not just how much stress you have, because we'll give you a personalized score and give you insights on how your body and mind are responding to daily pressure. And if you want to learn more about our unique solution focused approach, I invite you to visit Stamina Lab. Leave questions and comments in the below. We'd love to answer those. Thank you, Dr. Teplow.
Thank you.
And thank you, everyone, for listening. Until next time, remember, you are your own lab, you are your own experiment, and you are your own best coach. Be well.